Yeah, it's your boy Crypto Blood, and welcome to another My 2 Cents episode. Haven't done one of these in a while, but I thought it was important to go over a Jim Bianco. I don't know if you guys follow him. Been following him for many years now. He did an op-ed in Bloomberg a few days ago, and I wanted to go over it because it really illustrates to me why all of you, and I want you to share this video really with all your friends, all your family members, even if they're not into this stuff like you are, following what the Fed is doing and looking at interest rates and seeing how the Treasury is printing and stealing wealth from us and so on and so forth. Even if they're not into this, I think the subject around the coronavirus will at least get them to listen, because that is on everyone's minds today. So we're going to be looking at this op-ed that Jim Bianco put together that really illustrates, I think in more layman terms, what the hell is going on behind the scenes with the Fed and the Treasury and this whole CARES Act bill that was passed, this $2 trillion bill that's supposedly, going to help Main Street more than Wall Street. But I want you to pay attention to what Jim Bianco is illustrating here, because it really shows us what they're doing behind the scenes and how they're essentially leveraging this $2 trillion to up to like $6 trillion in additional funding that will be funneled through to banks, right, and the repo market, and how they're essentially doing the biggest bailout for them ever. Okay, so we're going to go through that in a second. But before we start, if you guys find these types of videos informative, make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and click that bell to receive more videos like this. All right, guys, hope you guys are doing okay today. We're going to be looking at first, before we get started, what the stats are with this whole coronavirus outbreak. This is out of Bloomberg. They have some very interesting stats on this whole situation, and we'll look at this other site that I use as well, and I'll leave a link to it in the description below. I'm not sure, you may be able to get access to this Bloomberg one, but I'm paying for Bloomberg now as a means of news, so I'm not sure if this link is available to you guys or not. But anyway, this is as of April 2nd, 12:14 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and let's take a look at these stats. So wow, look at US just really not flattening the curve at all. And now they're playing the blame game, guys. They're blaming China for not giving them details on what was really going on over there. How we spend billions of dollars funding programs like the NSA and Secret Service, all these different intelligent agencies, CIA. I'm sure knew what the hell was going on in China, even if they were lying to us. If a YouTube person like me, little old Crypto Blood, with I don't even know how many subscribers I have, but not a lot of subscribers, with the internet and half a brain, probably more than half a brain, but you get what I'm saying. I don't have the tools and resources that these big departments and agencies have, and I saw the evidence back in January 22nd was the first video I did on coronavirus. I told you guys this was going to be an issue, and to start preparing, I told you to get your masks. I did videos on that, gave you guys links on where to get masks and goggles and all that stuff on Amazon at that time, and maybe I'll try to leave a link for some other sources on Amazon where you still can get these masks. At least I saw last week. That may not be the case now, but anyhow, you should be wearing masks. Don't listen to the CDC. They completely dropped the ball. Don't listen to the WHO at all. They are just utterly criminal, and it's crazy because we're paying the WHO like 10 times as much a year than China is. Yet you would think China was funding 90% of their budget, the way that they're covering for the CCP. So it's just, it really is insane. We need to defund them here in America after this thing kind of settles down. Trump needs to really look into defunding the WHO. He needs to really do something with the CDC as well. I'll remember that, it was false narratives going around when this thing really started to heat up that Trump got rid of funding for the CDC, and that's a false statement. That's a false or fake news. He did not defund them. There was a bill to lower the budget for the CDC, but that was never passed. And so by the time this pandemic hit our shorelines, this epidemic hit our shorelines, they ended up increasing CDC funding more than ever. It's never been funded more than it is now. So that never happened. So the CDC dropping the ball had nothing to do with the lack of funding they had. Okay, so let's just stick to the facts and not be political here. But anyway, as we look here's how things line up. Global cases added per day, and it is just it's going up every day. It looks like slightly leveling off right now since yesterday, but 75,000 new cases globally. We've got 25,000 new cases. I don't know if that is for, I think that's for yesterday. We don't have the numbers yet for today. Spain, 8,100, almost 8,200 new cases. Germany, 6,000. France, Italy still going crazy, though a little bit lower than the peak at 4,700, almost 4,800 new cases. Mainland China, look at that, 31 cases. We cannot believe anything they say. And I'm glad that we're finally coming around to realizing that. The virus outbreak, it says, in mainland China and other Asian countries occurred mostly before March, while an exponential surge in new cases in Europe and the U.S. happened after. So as you can see here, this is unfortunate here. New deaths by day. This is just really sad. As you guys can see here, Italy still making newer highs. Okay, Spain almost making newer highs every day. Dropped a little bit yesterday, but U.S. it's climbing. It's very unfortunate. And here's another chart we can take a look at that really illustrates just specifically the U.S. New York kind of tracks the spread of the coronavirus outbreak in the U.S. Again, this is updated as of today. New York, 92,000 cases. New Jersey, 22,000. California, 9,900, almost 10,000. And Michigan, my state, is really bad at 9,300 cases. And it's just continually heading higher. So we have 5,300 deaths in the United States. And I just put a tweet out earlier today to show that coronavirus is now the third most deadly disease in the United States. It trumps flu/pneumonia by a long shot. By a long shot. It's not even a competition or even anywhere near to compare it to the flu or pneumonia, guys. So only thing I think higher was heart attacks and cancer. Okay, and I think at this pace we will eclipse cancer and heart attacks in the next 2 months easily. And as you see, guys, New York is the epicenter in the United States. New York City, to be exact. Very sad situation out there. And actually, unfortunately, not actually, but unfortunately, this is going to spread from state to state where you have bigger cities. You're going to have this issue. Florida, I think, is going to come up as being an epicenter. Cali, possibly Michigan, and Illinois as well. Texas. I mean, you know, we're just not still taking it as seriously as we should be. But if any of you follow me, you know I've been on top of this thing. I put this tweet out on February 27th. Okay, I said New York City, NYC is going to be Wuhan 2.0, but even worse, because America has this "it can't happen to us" mentality. Utterly disappointing. And sure enough, that's what we are. But enough about rambling on about the coronavirus. I want to talk about some side effects from this virus, and that is an opportunity for our government, in Wall Street, the Federal Reserve, to take advantage of this situation. Maybe not in a way where they think they can make something from this, but at least cover up their tracks from all the dirty mess they did back in 2008. It's coming home to roost, and now they have to cover it up. They have to paper over the false growth that we've had because of the nonsense they did back in 2008. You know, instead of letting the market truly reset, letting some of these banks and some of these organizations truly go bankrupt, we papered over it with easy money. And now we have another round of easy money coming. So I want to just go through this op-ed from Jim Bianco again that really breaks down what the hell is going on behind the scenes, people. So it says in just the past few weeks, the Fed has cut rates by 150 basis points to near zero and run through its entire 2008 crisis handbook. That wasn't enough to calm markets, though. So the central banks also announced $1 trillion a day in repurchasing agreements and unlimited quantitative easing. We all talked about this possibly happening. We knew it would happen someday, but it's just kind of a shock to see it actually going down, people. 1 trillion a day in repurchasing agreements, which also includes, this article says, hard to understand 625 billion of bond buying a week going forward. At this rate, the Fed will own 2/3 of the Treasury market in a year. That's right, 2/3 in just a year. What does that mean? They're the last lender of last resort. No one wants to buy the amount of Treasury notes that we need to sustain this false narrative of big deficits, right? So this is going to have us in a very bad situation in another year. I think that's when you'll really see like everything come to a head. Like that is the end, when we see ourselves owning and buying, I should say, more than half of the debt that we issue. That is the absolute end. Okay, so what I want to highlight, though, is this alphabet soup of new programs that deserves special consideration, as they could have profound long-term consequences for the functioning of the Fed and the allocation of capital in financial markets. So these are the different programs they've rolled out over the past 2 weeks. The CPFF, which is Commercial Paper Funding Facility. They make up all these names to just obfuscate and make things sound more important and more complicated than they really are. The PMCCF, Primary Market Corporate Credit Facility. The TALF, we've heard of that one. That was around in 08. Term Asset-Backed Securities Loan Facility. We've got the SMCCF, Secondary Market Corporate Credit Facility. And we've got the MSBLP, which is Main Street Business Lending Program. So that's the one that's supposedly going to help Main Street. And, I have to admit, this go around, they are helping Main Street. But to me, that means the system is over. By the time they help us out, people, that means it is done data. So just remember that this thing is over. Okay. It is a done deal. So the interesting thing about this whole new soup of alphabet programs that they've rolled out is that they really can't do this directly. Okay. But of course, if you can't do it directly, all they have to do is just bend the rules, find a loophole, because there's always one, and get it done. So any rules made by these guys are always very temporary if need be. So they're really not rules, right? They're kind of a facade. The central bank is only allowed to purchase or lend against securities that have government guarantee. This includes Treasury securities, agency mortgage-backed securities, and debt issued by Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. So what they have to do is create this special purpose vehicle, SPV. Just remember that, which is made for each of these alphabet programs that I listed above. The Treasury, using the Exchange Stabilization Fund, will make an equity investment in each SPV and be in first loss position. So in essence, this is the Treasury, not the Fed, that's buying all of these securities and backstopping the loans. So that means we are on hook, the taxpayers. The Fed is acting as a banker and providing finance. The Fed hired BlackRock, of course, to purchase these securities and handle the administration of the SPVs on behalf of the owner, which is the Treasury. So in other words, the Federal Reserve is nationalizing large swaths of the financial markets. The Fed is providing the money to do it. BlackRock will be doing the trades. This scheme essentially merges the Fed and the Treasury into one organization. So meet your new Fed chairman, Donald J. Trump. So in effect, the Fed is giving the Treasury access to its printing press. This means that in the extreme, the administration would be free to use its control, not the Fed's control, of the SPVs to instruct the Fed to print more money so it could be in a position to buy securities and hand out loans in an effort to ramp financial markets higher going into the election. So why stop there? Should Trump win re-election, he could try to use these SPVs to get those $10,000 Dow Jones points he feels the Fed has denied everyone. And so if these acronym of programs were abused, as Bianco described, they might indeed force markets higher than valuation warrants. Malinvestment will be rampant. It already is rampant, Jim Bianco, to be honest with you. To be quite honest and quite frank with you, this is why we have so many small businesses in trouble right now after being down for just 2 weeks, because a lot of businesses should not even exist right now. But with easy funding, easy money. You've created so many unnecessary businesses that, when the market stops and the tides kind of go back out, you'll see who has clothes on and who doesn't, and most people don't. This virus has exposed us on so many levels, it really doesn't make any sense. Bianco goes on to say it also could force private sector players to leave, as the government's heavy hand makes operating in controlled quote-unquote markets uneconomic. This has already occurred in the U.S. federal funds market and the government bond market in Japan. So Fed Chairman Jerome Powell needs to tread carefully indeed to ensure his cure isn't worse than the disease. Unfortunately, it already is, in my opinion. And I just want you guys to understand what's going on here. This is the end. This is the end of this system. I don't know what comes next, but it's not over as far as the pain that we're going to see from this, because unfortunately the virus is just not going to go away tomorrow. I think we have systematically changed the consumer's behavior. Okay. Yeah, people are going to go back to flying, but not as many. Yeah, people are going to go, stay at hotels, but not as many. Yeah, people are going to go out for dinner to restaurant, but not as many. Yeah, people are going to work at the office, but not as many. I think fundamentally you have a change in business behavior as well. I think structural changes in the way businesses conduct themselves has changed. And with that, you're going to have destruction of many services that are unnecessary, like corporate real estate. You're going to see a huge shift, a permanent shift in corporate real estate, in my opinion. So stay away from corporate REITs and all that stuff. In my opinion, I would. It's just going to be different going forward. A permanent shift in the way we do business globally. Some of it I think is going to be good, but it's going to come with a lot of pain. I think, through this whole process, United States in particular, we've learned our lesson as far as how much we depended on China. And I'm hearing stories left and right from the private sector of businesses changing their supply chain routes, reconsidering doing a large majority of their product development and creation in China. So that's going to hurt China. China's in a worse place than us, to be honest with you. I think this is the downfall of China. This is the end of China. I'm telling you guys, and watch it all play out. You're going to have countries continually looking to sue and ask for reparations for the damages from these viruses. Italy's already doing that. UK is looking into some things. I think the US is going to do it as well. It's going to be a permanent shift, man. And I don't know how it's going to look here in the United States on the other side. I think ultimately it's going to be a better situation for us because we're going to learn from our mistakes. But how much pain are we going to have to go through? And that's the question we have to ask ourselves. I'll have a link to this article that I want you guys to share with your friends and family members so they can see exactly what's going on and how the Treasury and the Fed are essentially one now. And it's unprecedented. I can't believe it. They're going to be able to buy all types of stuff. And average American just doesn't even understand this. And I don't blame them. Most people don't have $400 to cover expenses. And you're talking about a complete stop in the economic machine. Oh, man, this is bad. So people just want the money. They just want the bailout. And they're going to need more. They're going to get more. They're going to have to. It's just a print fest. And how do you get yourself out of this situation from a government standpoint? I don't see any end. Just like we didn't stop the printing and propping up of banks in 2008. Once you open this Pandora's box by giving people money to bridge them through, which I'm not saying is not necessary. Main Street, it's about time Main Street got something. But how do you stop it? How do you pull back on that when you have permanent demand destruction in our marketplace? You're going to have jobs that never come back. You're going to have restaurants that never reopen. So I just don't know how that's going to look. I think it's going to be a bad situation for a while. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And again, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And click that bell. I'm going to be doing more of these My 2 Cents videos to keep you guys updated on things as well. It's your boy Crypto Blood, and I'm out of here. How?